All right, back here on Inside Wrestling Radio. On the telephone, we have Michael Elliot. And the documentary on Jimmy Valiant, again, is called Woo Mercy, the Jimmy Valiant Experience. And I'm going to tell you something, Michael, that catchphrase goes way back, that Woo Mercy. Did Jimmy talk about where that came from and when he started with that?
No, he didn't. But watching from some of the off the best of DVDs that he was using that back in the WWF early in his career. And I mean, that just carried on with him all the way to present day, I guess. He didn't really give me a history lesson on the catchphrases he came up with. But,
yeah.
It's been around for a long time.
Oh, yeah, and he's had a ton of them over his career. I want to talk to you a little bit about the Charlie Brown. Did he get into Charlie Brown detail very much with you?
Yeah, there's a whole chapter in the documentary devoted to the Great Kabuki feud, I can't spit it out.
Feud, yeah.
The Kabuki, that feud, and Charlie Brown when that came around. I'm sorry, I can't spit that out, but there's a whole chapter on Charlie Brown, and it's one of my favorite chapters on the documentary because that was so cool when he was Charlie Brown. You ask him about it, people still talk about that. They've been talking about it since it happened.
Yeah, and that was very interesting because, and I didn't realize that it was that short a period of time. But when I had him in for the video for my interview, he of course said it was only a 6-month period out of a 30+ year career, and that people still to this day ask him about it. And I asked him because I love that boogie woogie, that Charlie Brown gimmick. And for those of you who may not know what it was Jimmy Valiant, the boogie woogie man, will be suspended from the NWA. And in his absence would come in this masked guy who would be Charlie Brown, who would be ostensibly a friend of Jimmy Valiant, but of course it was Jimmy under the hood. And the thing I loved about it, Michael, was he still had the long beard, still had the long hair, still talked like Jimmy, still danced to the ring, still kissed the people. It was Jimmy. He didn't try to kayfabe that it was Jimmy at all. And that to me was the beauty of the gimmick,
And that's what all these guys that we interviewed said. Like Bill Apter said, just like you said, he didn't change his boogie woogie-ness when he was in the ring when he was Charlie Brown. So, I mean, I love the Charlie Brown gimmick. I thought it was great, and that's one of my favorite parts of the documentary is when he actually talks about that.
Yeah.
And if you buy a copy, you'll find out if he actually was. He'll tell you if he actually was Charlie Brown or not.
Yeah, so we still in 2011 we still are not 100% sure if it was or if it wasn't. That's awesome.
Some people still don't think it was him. Some people think it does, and he finally puts the answer to the question in the documentary.
Finally answers it once and for all. That's awesome. That's another reason of the many to get this great documentary on the Boogie Woogie Man. And speaking of that, we were talking a little bit during the break, Michael, and I was mentioning a couple of times here that thing really looks good. It looks professional. It's really slickly done, and everything really just kind of coincides great as far as the editing. And you were telling me that you and another guy did that just by yourselves, right?
Yeah, my good friend Seth Bowman, he helped me edit some of it, and he helped me shoot some of the interviews. And I mean, we did it all on our own. I mean, we wrote the thing, we edited it, we produced it, we did everything all on our own. And I also want to thank my wife for going on all these road trips and dealing with all the wrestling for the last year, because she did a great job taking all the still photos that are on our Facebook page if you want to see all the guys we interviewed on there. But it was definitely a labor of love, like you said, and we did it all on our own. I mean, it was a lot of work, but it was work that needed to be done, and it was something I wanted to do.
Yeah, and it really turned out well. And again, I haven't seen the entire documentary, but I have seen the clips that you've got up on your YouTube channel. And what is that YouTube channel? I don't think I have that here. What's your YouTube channel again?
The name of the channel my name on YouTube is Woo Mercy Michael, I think. But just go on YouTube and type in Jimmy Valiant documentary, and all of it will pop up. There's like 17 or 18 preview clips on there, and the trailers on there, and just type in Jimmy Valiant documentary on YouTube.
Yeah.
And also you can go on Facebook and type in Jimmy Valiant documentary, and that'll take you to everything as well.
Yeah, really, really good stuff on there, man, and really interesting. And it was interesting also to me the way the guys that you interviewed spoke with such reverence of Jimmy Valiant, man, and that to me again speaks to just to his legacy in this business. Who was the most interesting person you interviewed while you were doing the documentary? Other than Jimmy, of course.
Yeah, well, we interviewed Jimmy for 4.5 hours, and that was the longest thing to go through to sort out all the stuff he said. But the most interesting person we talked to, I have to say Ricky Morton, and we met him at the most interesting place too. He was doing an autograph signing at a mobile home dealership that day when we met up with him. So I thought, and he was kind of off the wall with all his comments, but we we had to keep him on focus talking about Jimmy. But Ricky was very interesting guy to speak with for me.
Yeah, what was some of his memories of Jimmy from that era? Because he was big in that era too. I mean, the Rock and Roll Express, you just didn't get any bigger than that.
Yeah, well, on our YouTube channel, there's a clip with Ricky telling a story about him and Jimmy, and this is when Ricky first broke into the wrestling business, and it was in Memphis, Tennessee. And at the time, the handsome Jimmy Valiant was the most hated man in all of Tennessee, in that whole territory.
Yeah. And
it was one night after the matches, Ricky's dad was a referee there, and he told him that he had to drive Jimmy to the next town. So after the main event, all the people would go to the back of the Coliseum before the wrestlers would leave. And they got in Ricky's truck, and Jimmy told him, he said, if these people get in the way, you just keep driving, don't you stop. And Ricky was going out the gate, and the people did what like Jimmy said, and they got in front of the truck, and he stopped. And then all of a sudden, a big rock came crashing through their windshield.
Wow.
And they had to drive for 6 hours, I think, to the Louisville Gardens the next show with a big old hole in the middle of winter. And you go on YouTube, Ricky tells the story a whole lot better.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting story from Ricky on Jimmy.
Sure, absolutely. Michael, earlier you mentioned Jimmy almost dying from hepatitis there. Was there any other really dark area that Jimmy went to during this thing, or do you keep it more on the light end of it? What's the tone, in other words, of your documentary?
Well, he talked about right before he met his wife when he was using recreational drugs and this and that, but he didn't really go deep into detail, and I didn't want him to have to go deep into detail about it, because that's in his past, and he doesn't do that anymore. But he openly talked about, yes, I did do recreational drugs in the past and this and that, but because he always says if somebody can learn to not do it from him, he don't mind talking about it. But we didn't dive too deep into the dark side of his career. We just kind of kept it light and fun, and that kind of a tone,
Gotcha. Is there a lot of wrestling clips from the old days in this documentary?
Actually, there is. I mean, there's everything that he gave us his best of and said just throw them in there if you want to, and we did. You'll see the mask. I mean, the mask being taken off the assassin in there, those kind of things, like his beard being cut and his head being shaved, all that kind of good stuff in the Paul Jones era.
Yeah, awesome. Great stuff, man, and really, like I said, a labor of love on your part, and that's obvious in the little bit of video that I've seen of the documentary, and I can't wait to see the entire thing. And before we get out of here, we're really short on time. You mentioned to me in the pre-interview that you had another couple of subjects coming up in the future. You mind talking about those at all?
Oh, well, Ricky Morton had approached us after we did the interview with him about doing something with him, and we're working on that. We've got to call and make sure Ricky's still on board with doing that.
Yeah.
But also I'm trying to do the history of the NWA World Title. I don't know if that one's going to take off or not. It's going to take some financial backing to get that one off the ground, because those guys are legends, and they're going to want to get paid for it.
Sure.
But I think Ricky Morton will probably be the next one you see from Elbow Productions.
Very cool, man. And listen, that very interesting time frame that you're focusing on there. A lot of us wish that era would kind of come back, but I know that's kind of a shot in the dark that it'll ever be like that again. But man, I'm gonna tell you, that's the wrestling that I grew up on, and just seeing, and that 2-minute clip that I saw of this particular documentary on Jimmy Valiant, man, it really brought back some good memories, and was really, and I tell you what, I was really, and this is, you didn't know, I'm not trying to put you over or anything, but really just in me watching that for myself, I was having fun. And that's something that I have missed in professional wrestling, on television, on the internet, whatever nowadays, is the fun aspect of it, man. And just watching that little clip that you put up there, that trailer for this thing, made me feel good and was fun, man. And that's what I think a lot of us miss. And thank you for doing that. Really great job.
All right, so thank you, man, for all the kind words and having us on to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And the documentary again, Woo Mercy, the Jimmy Valiant Experience, and you can pick up your copy at Elbow Productions. That's ELLBOW Productions at Weebly.com. And also you can type in Jimmy Valiant documentary on Facebook, and it is all over Facebook, and you're doing a tremendous job publicating this thing, man. And again, kudos to you for that. Any last words before we let you go?
Man, all you out there listening, go buy your copy. You will not be disappointed. We're very proud of how the product turned out, and we would put this up against any WWE documentary that's been produced, and it would stand against it and probably be better. And I'm not just saying that because I did it, and that's the truth. And you can, like Rikki said, you can go to elbowproductions.weebly.com and order there, and that's ELLBOW Productions. That's it, cool. Man. Thank you for having us on.
Very cool. Michael Elliott, thank you again so much for coming on the program and telling us a little bit more about this documentary. And yeah, man, give it a shot. Go up there and check out it. At least check out that trailer, because it is really phenomenally well done, and it's very interesting, and it really piqued my curiosity to see the rest of that thing, man. Can't wait to see the rest of it. Michael Elliott, man, continued success to you. I hope this thing is a blockbuster for you, and I can't wait to have you on again to talk to you about the Rikki Morton when you're going to do.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right, good deal. All right, that's going to do it for the interview portion of the program. We'll be right back here to close out the show on Inside Wrestling Radio coming up next.